Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Thierry André. I work in Saint-Antoine Hospital in Paris, and it's a pleasure to present on behalf of all investigators a summary of results of the Keynote 177 study, a phase 3 study with pembrolizumab versus chemotherapy for microsatellite instability I metastatic colorectal cancer. Next slide. Microsatellite instability occurs in cells with high levels of mutation, in short, repeated DNA sequences caused by deficiency in mismatch repair system in relation with Lynch syndrome or epigenetic mutation in sporadic cases. Patients with microsatellite instability, equivalent to MSI high, represent 5% of all patients with metastatic colorectal cancer. Mismatch repair status predicted clinical benefit of immune checkpoint blockade with pembro and other anti-PD-1 therapies. In phase 2 studies, pembro demonstrated durable anti-tumor activity with an acceptable safety profile in previously treated MSI metastatic colorectal cancer and obtain FDA approval in this situation. We report here results from the first phase 3 study of pembrolizumab versus standard of care as first-line therapy in MSI metastatic colorectal cancer. Next slide. Inclusion criteria were patients with metastatic colorectal cancer, MSI, locally determined by immunohistochemistry or PCR, with performance status 0 or 1, with measurable disease, in first-line therapy, randomized between pembrolizumab 200 milligrams every 3 weeks, or in investigator choice of chemo, FOLFOX or FOLFIRI, plus or minus bevacizumab or cetuximab. Pembro randomized to chemo has the option to cross over to receive pembro after disease progression. The co-primary endpoints, the dual primary endpoints, are progression-free survival per RECIST 1.1 by blended independent central review and overall survival. The study was considered successful if pembro was superior to chemo for either primary endpoint. Next slide. 307 patients were randomly assigned to receive pembro or chemo in 23 countries. Baseline and demographic characteristics were generally well balanced between arms, with a median follow-up of 32 months. Median PFS was 16.5 months with pembro versus 8.2 months with chemo. The pre-specified statistical criteria for superiority of pembro versus chemo was met, with a hazard ratio for PFS at 0.6, with a highly significant p-value 0.0002. The overall response rate, I think it's on the slide. You can move the slide. The overall response rate was 43.8% in the pembro arm versus 33% in the chemo arm. All estimated proportion of patients with the pembro versus chemo arm who were alive and progression-free at 24 months was much higher in the pembro arm, 48 versus 19%. The study met one of the two primary endpoints and is definitively a positive trial. Next slide. Treatment-related adverse events of grade 3 or higher were reported in 22% of patients in the pembro arm versus 63% of patients in the chemo arm. The toxicity is different between both arms, but clearly, pembro is less toxic compared to chemo. The profile of toxicity is very different between both groups, with immune-mediated adverse event with pembro and classical, most frequent chemotoxicity for chemo arm with diarrhea, neutropenia, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, stomatitis, alopecia, and neurotoxicity. Next slide. To conclude, pembrolizumab provides clinically meaningful and statistically significant improvement in progression-free survival versus chemotherapy as first-line therapy for MSI-high metastatic colorectal cancer with different and less treatment-related events. The study will continue to evaluate overall survival at final analysis. In the past, no medical treatment has shown such a difference in terms of improvement of PFS in metastatic colorectal cancer. Today, this study demonstrates that a majority of the 5% of patients with metastatic colorectal cancer selected by MSI-high status benefited greatly of anti-PD-1 pembrolizumab compared to standard of care. Pembrolizumab should be the new standard of care for these patients. Hope is that after stopping pembro, some patients were cured of metastatic disease. These data represent another step forward for biomarker-driven studies and will help bring this approach that target MSI-high tumor into the adjuvant and neoadjuvant setting. Thank you very much for your attention.